April 22nd, 1997, 3:23 in the afternoon. 8 young rebels are kicking a makeshift ball of tape and cloth across a massive tile foyer in Lima, Peru. They're laughing. They've been doing this every day for months. Other members of their group lean over the second-floor banister to watch. It's the most relaxed moment of their day. Directly beneath them, separated by nothing but tile and concrete, 142 Peruvian commandos crouch in air-conditioned tunnels that took months to dig. Shaped charges, directional explosives designed to focus their blast straight up, sit positioned under the exact spot where the ball is bouncing. The commandos have rehearsed the next 22 minutes hundreds of times. They've memorized every room, every staircase, every window. They know which rebels sleep where. They know which hostages are wearing light-colored clothing so they won't be mistaken for targets. And they know that in a few seconds, the floor beneath those soccer players is going to disappear. So how does a government tunnel under a fortified mansion for months bug every room from the inside and time a military assault to the precise minute a ball gets kicked? To answer that, you have to go back 126 days. December 17th, 1996. Lima's wealthiest neighborhood, San Isidro, the kind of district where embassies sit behind high walls and nothing ever happens until something does. Ambassador Morihisa Aoki, Japan's top diplomat in Peru, is hosting a formal reception at his official residence for Emperor Akihito's 63rd birthday. It's the single night of the year when virtually every important person in Peru's government, judiciary, and diplomatic corps is gathered in one room. More than 500 guests. Supreme Court justices, generals, the president's brother, Pedro Fujimori, foreign ambassadors from across the world, 20 ambassadors alone. Champagne is flowing. The residence itself is a fortress surrounded by a 12-foot wall, grated windows, bulletproof glass, doors built to withstand grenade impacts. Over 300 armed police officers and bodyguards stand outside. At 8:20 p.m., an explosion tears through the garden wall. 14 fighters from the MRTA, the Tupac Amaru Revolutionary Movement, a Marxist guerrilla group that had been fighting Peru's government since the 1980s, pour through the breach. Simultaneously, white-clad waitstaff inside the party produce automatic weapons. Within 15 minutes, 500 people are on the floor. The building designed to keep attackers out has now locked everyone in. The walls, the grates, the reinforced doors, all of it works in the rebels' favor. The 300 armed guards outside can't get through, and the MRTA has wired rooms with explosives. Their fighters wear backpacks rigged with charges that can be detonated by pulling a cord on their chest. Within hours, the Lima Stock Exchange had shut down early. Stocks were in freefall. The country understood immediately what had been taken. Their leader is Nestor Serpa. Serpa wasn't a foot soldier. He was the MRTA's national operational commander, the man who planned the entire operation from outside the building and then chose to lead it himself. A former textile union leader turned guerrilla who had spent years building the organization's strike capacity. His demand is simple: release 465 MRTA prisoners, including his own wife, Nancy Gilvonio, already imprisoned for her own guerrilla activities. His leverage is the most valuable collection of hostages any South American insurgency has ever held. On the other side sits Alberto Fujimori, Peru's president, an authoritarian populist who had crushed the Shining Path, Peru's other, far larger Maoist insurgency, 4 years earlier by capturing its leader. His entire political identity rests on one principle: he does not negotiate with terrorists. Conceding means every embassy, every school, every hospital in Latin America becomes a target. But a frontal assault against a building wired with explosives, defended by fighters wearing suicide vests, means a massacre. So Fujimori does something that looks like negotiation. He publicly rejects all demands but signals willingness to talk. Archbishop Cipriani, a Catholic clergyman appointed as official mediator, begins shuttle diplomacy alongside the Red Cross and Canadian Ambassador Anthony Vincent. The talks give the entire standoff its public face of good faith. And that's all they're designed to do. Because 4 days after the seizure, while the cameras are pointed at the negotiating table, something else begins. 30 miners from Centrum in Peru and San Cristobal, a state-owned mining company whose workers know how to dig silently through compacted earth, are quietly assembled in a neighboring house. The government isn't choosing between diplomacy and force. It's running both simultaneously. Diplomacy as theater, tunnels as the real plan. But there's a problem nobody outside Fujimori's inner circle has considered yet. How do you dig under a building for months without the people living directly above it figuring out what's happening? The pressure doesn't ease over the next 4 months. It compounds on every side. Over the first week, the MRTA releases waves of hostages, all the women, all the Americans, lower priority targets. They think they're showing good faith. What they're actually doing is shrinking the kill zone. 500 hostages become 72. A rescue operation that was impossible with 500 people in the building is now conceivable with 72, especially if you know exactly where each one is sitting. And the government is about to know exactly that. Miniature microphones and video cameras start arriving inside the residence, hidden in water bottles, books, table games, thermoses, picture frames, brooms, even guitars. Agents from GAIN, Peru's National Intelligence Directorate, concealed devices in everything the rebels allow through the door. One listening device is sewn into the lining of a religious image a wife sends to her husband. Another is stitched into a shirt. Analysts outside process intercepted communications. They build a real-time model of every room, every hour, every movement. But the most valuable intelligence asset isn't a device, it's a person. Luis Giampietri, a retired Peruvian Navy admiral who happens to be among the 72 hostages. You're probably wondering how a hostage becomes the most important intelligence source in the building. Giampietri wasn't an ordinary captive. He was a career combat veteran who had spent decades fighting Peru's insurgencies, a former special operations commander. When the MRTA put everyone on the floor that first night, Giampietri started watching, cataloging, which rebels patrolled which hallways, where they posted guards, when they slept. He organized the other military and police hostages into a quiet internal resistance, distributing smuggled devices to strategic positions throughout the building. And then someone smuggled him a two-way radio hidden inside a guitar. From that moment, Giampietri began transmitting real-time intelligence to the military outside. Rebel positions, room assignments, the exact time every afternoon when the soccer games started. He turned captivity into a command post, and the commandos in the tunnels below were listening to every word. The digging itself is a feat of engineering. The miners work in tunnels that are air-conditioned and lit, carving through the dense clay beneath San Isidro. To mask the sound, the Air Force flies daily sorties over the residence. Police blast patriotic music from loudspeakers. Tanks roll back and forth through the streets at random intervals, filling the neighborhood with engine noise and vibration. The MRTA rebels hear it all and assume it's psychological pressure. They're half right. In March, Serpa hears something different, sounds coming from directly beneath the floor. He calls off negotiations, suspicious that tunnels are being dug. Peruvian newspapers actually confirm the suspicion, reporting that police are digging under the building. Serpa concludes that a ground floor breach is imminent. He believes the second floor gives him a defensible choke point, a position where he can hold hostages as a human shield against any team trying to come up the stairs. So he moves all 72 hostages upward. What he's actually done is clear the first floor, putting every rebel between the explosives underground and the hostages above, with nothing but stairwells connecting them. The commandos couldn't have designed a better arrangement themselves. At the Chorrillos Military School, an exact replica of the residence has been constructed. The commandos practice every detail: the weight of the explosives, the timing of the breaches, the room-by-room clearing sequence. They rehearse until the operation runs like a single, continuous motion. General Jose Williams Zapata, the officer in charge, later emphasized the importance of intensive training and preparation. These weren't recruits. They were specialized troops drilling the same scenario over and over until it was muscle memory. Fujimori's approval rating has fallen to 38%. He's fired his interior minister. He's replaced him with a hardline general. The clock is running out for everyone. And then comes April 22nd. The hostages know something is coming. Bolivian ambassador Jorge Gumucio later explained that they'd been secretly warned. If you hear the Peruvian Navy's anthem played over the loudspeakers 2 days in a row, prepare for an assault. Monday morning, the anthem plays. Tuesday morning, it plays again. Giampietri receives a final encrypted message through his radio. Tell everyone to stay as far from the MRTA as possible. The hostages are given light-colored clothes sent in by the government so commandos can instantly distinguish them from the dark-clothed rebels. At 3:17 p.m., Fujimori gives the order. For 6 minutes, nothing happens above ground. Below, 142 commandos with faces painted green and black, wearing bulletproof vests, carrying silenced submachine guns, move into final position. At 3:23, the floor of the residence erupts. 3 explosive charges detonate almost simultaneously beneath 3 first-floor rooms. The first blast hits directly under the soccer game. 2 rebels die instantly. A woman watching from the sideline is killed. Serpa is wounded. Through the holes torn in the floor, 30 commandos storm upward, weapons firing. The surviving rebels try to reach the stairs. They don't make it. A second team of 20 commandos breaches the front door and kills 2 female guards posted there. Behind them, another wave carries ladders, races through the building to the rear, and scales the back wall. On the roof, they place charges at 2 points and blow holes through the ceiling. Commandos drop through and clear the upper floors before any rebel can reach the hostages. Serpa, wounded from the initial blast, drags himself toward the second floor. He's intercepted on the staircase. He cries out 2 words: "We're finished." He doesn't reach the hostages. 22 minutes, that's how long it takes. All 14 MRTA fighters are killed. 71 hostages walk out alive. Several foreign ministry and security personnel are killed, including 1 hostage. By 4 o'clock, the MRTA flag that had flown on the roof for 126 days is torn down and burned. Fujimori arrives in a bulletproof vest. He walks through the shattered residence. His approval rating rockets from 38 to 67% overnight. The poet Antonio Cisneros says what the whole country is thinking. Nobody expected this efficiency. In military terms, it was a first-world job. The operation is named Chavín de Huántar, after an ancient Peruvian archaeological site famous for its underground passageways, a code name that was itself a confession. But if the rescue was one of the most successful in history, why did the officers who led it end up in a courtroom? Years later, a Japanese hostage named Hidetaka Ogura publishes a book. He writes that he saw Eduardo Cruz Sanchez, one of the MRTA fighters, tied up in the garden after the assault ended, alive, handed over to a colonel, later reported as killed during the fighting. Forensic evidence raised questions about how several rebels died. Peruvian courts opened investigations, and some of the officers who planned and executed the rescue faced legal proceedings that stretched on for years without full resolution. The answer to what happened in that garden was never definitively settled, and that ambiguity is itself part of what this room teaches you. So what does this room actually teach you? First, the negotiation was never the plan. It was the plan's camouflage. Archbishop Cipriani's shuttle diplomacy, the Red Cross visits, the Guarantor Commission, all of it bought exactly what the tunnels needed. Time. 126 days of it. The Canadian ambassador himself later admitted that the commission may have served as little more than a cover. In any high-stakes confrontation, identify whether you're the primary channel or the distraction, because someone in that room already knows which one you are. Second, routine kills. The MRTA's daily soccer game was a comfort ritual that became a targeting pattern. 8 fighters in one room every afternoon at a predictable time. The commandos didn't choose 3:23 arbitrarily. They chose it because Giampietri told them exactly when the ball would be in the air. Every repeated behavior in a high-stakes environment is a signal you are broadcasting to whoever is watching closely enough to read it. Third, the decisive move in this operation wasn't the assault. It was the information architecture built over 126 days. The tunnels, the bugs, the smuggled radio, Giampietri's network inside the building. By the time Fujimori gave the order, the commandos weren't entering an unknown space. They were executing a plan they had already rehearsed hundreds of times against a perfect replica of the target, with real-time intelligence from inside. The violence lasted 22 minutes. The preparation lasted 4 months. That ratio is the lesson. The MRTA believed they held the leverage because they held the building. They were wrong. Leverage isn't location. It's information. And by April 22nd, every piece of information in that building belonged to the people tunneling underneath it.